Do we have a list of things that I need to?
Text.
The ones you texted. There's not anything else.
That's it.
Well, unless you don't ask anything off the wall here.
Can't
Which
wait.
is always fun.
That's true.
Welcome into the Helping Healing Humor with Ben and Travis podcast. On today's episode, it is the one you've all been looking for, the countdown to ask Will Myhan anything in honor of his birthday a few weeks ago or days ago. But anyways, we'll have that fun Q&A right after this important message about the Joyrider, which is coming soon. Morning, night, or noon. I'm Travis Creasy, the pulpit minister at Westgate Church of Christ down in southeast Alabama, Dothan, Alabama. As it says in Genesis, let us go to Dothan. And then that is Ben Hayes, all-pro counselor at Mars Hill Bible School, 3-Chord Counseling, preacher at Highland Park Church of Christ. And today, hey, Ben, go ahead and say so they know who you are.
I'm here. What's up? And glad to be here. And Travis, you don't live that far from the world's only statue to a bug. Just that little trivia that's out there. Enterprise, Alabama, just right down the road, the boll weevil. So
is Enterprise really hiring Hugh Freeze? Because that's the rumor that's going around. But
is it really?
I've seen it a couple of times, but that doesn't mean it's real. And of course, the man of the hour himself, the youth minister at Highland Park Church of Christ, Will Myhan. How's it going, Will?
Good. Isn't Dothan just West Georgia, or is it East Alabama?
That's like Auburn.
Auburn's west.
Auburn is West Georgia.
I just didn't know if Dothan classified.
It's close. It's close. I am less than 30 minutes away from the Chattahoochee River. I'll say that, of Alan Jackson fame.
You're way down yonder on the Chattahoochee.
We're way down yonder. And he ain't kidding about the way down yonder part. But yeah, we have some questions that have been submitted. That was kind of our tradition this year. We've done the Ask Travis Creasy Anything for birthday. We did Ben back in July, the Ask Ben Hayes Anything. And so we're just going to keep it rolling here with the Ask Will Myhan Anything. And I won't tell you which one of these that Blake Holloman and Josh Thorne submitted.
It's terrifying.
But I guess the first one out the gate, Will, you've been in youth ministry a while. I'm sure you hear all kinds of the negative parts about youth ministry. You probably have some of those that you could share with us personally. But I guess the first question, Will, and maybe think of this as a way to encourage your fellow youth ministers out there, or those who deal or minister to youth, period. Why youth ministry, Will? Why?
Well, I think for me, ministry was never on the radar at all, because I was headed to Alabama. And one day I walked in and Mom said, "Hey, you're going to go to Freed-Hardeman." And I said, "No, I'm not. I've been at Mars Hill my whole life. I'm not going to secondary Mars Hill." I said, "I'm going to Alabama. This is where I'm going to be." And she said, "That's fine. And you're welcome to go there," because we had family that had gone there. And she said, "But you're going to pay for every dime of it. And if you go to Freed-Hardeman, where I went," and she said, "I know that you'll benefit. You may not see the benefit now, but you'll see it later. And I'll help you pay for it." And I thought help was way better than me on my own. So I ended up at Freed-Hardeman. Ministry was still never on the radar for me. It was just like, I'm entering into another big youth group. This is great, fun. And then the internships, I saw people start getting internships and thought, wow, they're getting paid money to go hang out with a bunch of kids all summer. That sounds like a sweet gig compared to working at the McGee farm in Zip City. And so my roommate, his uncle was a preacher in Dallas, Texas. And he said, "I'm going to go intern with him. Why don't you intern with youth minister?" And so we concocted this big plan that we're going to go hang out in Dallas for an entire summer and just live life. And ended up getting the job. Reed Swindle was the youth minister, graciously offered me that internship. And from that moment on, everything changed for my life. And I think the big part of it was just being able to influence people. I say a lot of times adults are stuck in their ways, and talking about birthdays, as I get older, I'm already becoming some of that get off my lawn. It's like I never thought.
No, I don't believe it.
I never thought I would be that person. And I always was like, man, I love technology. I'll continue to move with all that. And now I find myself deleting apps, not installing new apps, and just doing what I've always done. But it seems that teenagers are so open-minded to everything. Like they want to know, there's a curiosity that's there. And to me, that's fun. And I feel on some level, it keeps me young and it gives me a purpose, because there are so many youth ministers that they want to go preach, and there's that desire at 36 that desire has still not hit with me. And Ben knows that, because we've got so many good speakers at church. The elders go, hey, Will, you have to, get in the pulpit from time to time.
Every now and then.
And I'll do it. That's fine. It's just not something that I'm overly passionate about right now. And so I think the biggest thing for me was being able, I guess in a way, be an older brother and an older sister for Lindsay once we got married, to a lot of people that we just saw needed good influences. And I don't think that it was, we had some, divine ability to explain the Bible to people. I would say that we're not probably the greatest in that. But I think we know how to have a lot of fun and just are able to connect with people, and saw that there was maybe some lacking of that in the youth ministry world that maybe we could feel. And so we're going to the beach this weekend with our youth group, pumped up, excited about it. And somebody told me that when the trips are no longer fun, you need to get out of ministry. Out of youth ministry. And I'm like, well, that's far down
Still
the road.
rocking.
Yeah. Cause I love that side of it. And I had a guy the other day stop me after class and go, hey, can you help me? I'm just struggling with my relationship. And it was not even like anything bad. He just said, I don't know how to communicate. And I was like, well, you probably don't want to talk to me when it comes to that. But I love just youth ministry. I think a lot is common sense. And I love being able to just go, hey, this is the right thing to do. Let's do that. And we don't have to get in some big theological debate. We know it's right. So let's do that. And it, in some ways, I think Jesus kind of simplifies it when he just says, hey, love God and love other people. And I'm good with that. And so that makes youth ministry a lot of fun.
So a follow-up to that is, you've probably heard the old statement, what's the best part of ministry and what's the worst part of ministry? The people. So I get that, that's one answer. But for you, what's the best part of ministry? And you may have kind of already answered that a little bit. And what are the frustrations in ministry that you've encountered, I guess? And you don't have to name people, but just in general, what do you think?
No, name people. No.
The preachers.
That's the best part. I know. Well, what's the worst part?
I think the best part for us really has been the relationships post-graduation. I think sometimes, like we look at it this weekend, we have 2 former youth group members who are going with us as chaperones and bringing their wives. And we love and have loved being able to watch people go from middle schooler to high schooler, college student, married. Some of them are having kids, which is crazy.
Welcome.
But I think that transition from peer or from student to peer has been really, really cool, because for me, the goal in youth ministry, and I think Lindsay would say the same thing, has always been, we want to see you become a mature Christian. Like we want to see you connect with the church. Several of those are still at Highland Park, and that's a lot of fun to be able to do ministry with them. And so I would say like the people are definitely the best, but specifically watching those that stay home, get married, and then do ministry with you.
Yeah. There's been several that were at Highland Park when I was the youth minister there, and they're back. Either they went to college and came back or whatever, and that is a great feeling.
I think it's just rewarding.
Yeah.
Like, you look at it and go, so many graduate and they go off, and when they come back to visit family, you get to see them, but the ones that you get to continue to do life with, like that's just really, really special, from that side. I think the worst part of it, Travis, for me is probably just the mundane day-to-days, that just I think some people say the routine, you fall into a routine of like, we're doing the same thing over and over. And sometimes in ministry that becomes difficult for me because I want to go and I want to go do a bunch of things. But trying to sit back and go, hey, those mundane tasks, the everydays are what builds, I think, good ministries and what builds, really good things moving forward. And so I think that's been the difficult because I am not an office person. Yeah. If I'm in the office for more than 3 hours, I'm losing my mind. And so I think with that, that's the difficult part is I am such a I think I'm a people person. I like to be around people. That sitting in the office and these daily tasks over and over and over just becomes so frustrating to me. And as ministers, usually, you want to be in the office, but when you're in the office, it's hard to get anything done too. Yeah. And so, because there's always people popping in, and I love that, and I want to spend time with them, but then I've got stuff to do. But then when I spend time with them, it just pushes that, further down the road. And so I think the worst part for me is just that daily routine, I guess, because what I love about youth ministry is the going and being a part of their life outside the walls of the building.
So when, the few times in your ministry ever, right? The 2 times in however long you've been doing this, don't say how long you've been doing this because then that ages me even more. When you get discouraged, when that time comes, is there a scripture or scriptures that you go to that kind of pull you out of that, or at least get you moving in that direction?
Yeah, I think for me, one of my students at Marseille, she's a really, really good artist. And so I told her today, I said, I want you to paint me something, but I don't want it to be from any source that you've ever seen. I want it to be a one-on-one. And once you've done it, you're not allowed to give it to anybody else. And it comes from John.
You don't ask for much, do you?
That's right.
It's not a hard bargain.
Because if she gets famous, I want the one-of-one, you got to think about those things. For me, my favorite passage is John 3 and verse 30 that says, he must increase and I must decrease. And I say that with the idea of I always, even when I'm discouraged and frustrated, I continue to say that verse in my head over and over to help me realize, hey, it's not about me. Even in the frustration and in the moments of and I think every minister has them, especially ministers. I think every person has the low points of life. Even in the lows, it's still not about me. And so I try not to make it about my problems or my issues, because the more I dwell on those, the worse I get. And so I think that's a big one. It's embossed on my Bible. It's painted in my office. And then Philippians 2, that have this mind among you that was also of Jesus, and I try to go, okay, it's not about me. So what is it about? Well, it's about Jesus, and his whole mindset was about everybody else. And so I think I have my me time where I try to just go, part of my me time is I go rec ball and try and do some things like that, umpire with, Blake from the podcast.
That sounds like terrible me time.
So, but it puts into perspective how stupid people are and how good my life is. And so it's kind of one of those, it's maybe at the expense of others, you find some enjoyment, and there's a lot of humor. We had a guy the other day come out of the stands at a second grade basketball game yelling at us. Nice. And all we did was just laugh at him. And Blake said, you do realize this is rec ball, right? And they're second graders. So I think there are those moments of, I'm going to go do something that I enjoy or put myself around a sport, drive 60 hours to California. There's those things that I really love, but those verses, because I think a lot of times in life, I think we're all guilty of saying, hey, I want this and it's about me. And just those two passages really kind of put it back on, hey, get your priority in the right place.
So as you've thought about some of those things this year, or meditated on those verses, or just all the things that have happened, whether it's the 60-hour drive back and forth from LA, or camp, or whatever else, what is something that you have learned about you in the last year?
It's okay to say no. I think that I can't tell you how many times Lindsay will go, we're so busy. Like, can we just stay at the house? And I'll go, but babe, I haven't gone to like 7 basketball games in the past month, and I think that I have to tell myself that the kids will still go to heaven if I don't show up at their sporting events. And that's difficult because I love it and I really enjoy it, but I'm learning, hey, life is still moving along, even though I didn't show up somewhere. Because as much as I don't care about things, and I try to be a free-spirited person, I want our kids to know how much I love them in ministry. And I think sometimes in teenagers' lives, presence equals love. That they really feel when you're present, that you really care and you really love them. And Sundays and Wednesdays, a lot of times are, well, we have to be here. And so that's not like Will sacrificed or Lindsay sacrificed to show up. But I'm continuing to learn too. Lindsay has said this a lot. My ministry is my family. And the more, adding Jet definitely changed our life a little bit from 1 to 2. The age difference has helped because it's not so extreme. But I'm really trying to sit in the idea of, hey, I've got 2 kids that I want to go to heaven.
That's your mission field.
And I want them to be there just as much as I want all of our kids to be there. But I have a really, really strong direct impact on if they're going to be there or not. So
one of the things I've always said about ministry is, when I was in youth ministry, especially, and it's still the same way for what Travis and I do, is we're a resource. We're not the reason that a kid's going to go to heaven or not go to heaven, but we're a resource that the parents can use. And so the real responsibility, I'm a parent, it falls on me. And I use you as a resource, but you shouldn't be the only influence on my kids. And so, those are important things. So,
I like your big brother, big sister analogy, metaphor, whatever it is, to kind of go along with what Ben said. Like, I can remember telling people very early on, which I'm sure they understood. I didn't have to tell them this, but I'm not their dad.
Right.
I'm not a replacement for the parent in the situation. I am, as Ben said, a help, a big brother, someone who's going to hopefully direct them in the right way. But and that's what we want to be as Ben and Travis and Will. Several ways in which we try to do that. If you've not signed up at benandtravis.com yet, you sign up there. You're going to get all kinds of free goodies, a couple of journals. We're going to send you 1 email a week. We've mostly kept that promise. I can think of maybe 2 times where we've sent 2 a week, and it was always to your benefit because there was free stuff or a giveaway or something like that. And we're going to bring that back this year. And if you're signed up on our email, you're going to get entered for whatever giveaway we come up with. There's our Facebook group. If you're not a part of that, private Facebook group, where most of our stuff goes at least second. That's where it goes. And then, of course, we have our Patreon, which they get everything first, and they actually get stuff that maybe no one else gets, like maybe what Die Hard says about your, mental health, if that's your favorite Christmas movie or not. But several ways you can jump on, help us out. If you're watching the video, you see the like and subscribe. If you're on YouTube, you can help us out that way. Follow us on Facebook. We got all the things and the stuff too. But certainly we appreciate everyone who helps us out there. But I'm not going to say once again who submitted this question, Blake Holloman questioned, would you rather fight 1 horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
I think I would go 100 duck-sized horses. But are we talking like baby ducks, or are we talking like full-grown ducks?
I would assume full-grown ducks.
Okay. Yeah, I would take the ducks because I'm slow.
Like horse-sized ducks. Wait,
It's ducks.
duck-sized horses.
Right. Yeah.
That's what you take.
Yeah,
So the
I would
horses, you take the horses.
Yeah.
Little horses.
Yeah, little
Gotcha.
horses.
Okay.
Yeah, I just feel like Emmy could terrorize some of those for sure. Or she could create a distraction. I feel confident in myself that I could take on 100 of those things.
I guess those animals can get sideways with you. I guess a horse, if it got mad, could really do some damage. I just, I don't really think of aggressiveness and go horse and a duck.
But a duck can like swallow a fish whole.
Yeah, but I've had a duck bite me when I worked at the McGee farm, and it wasn't that bad. It's kind of just, they're
But
just
I'm thinking like a big duck though.
That's what I'm thinking.
They can swallow us.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like the horse-sized duck with a beak. That may be a dangerous.
Solid. I think that'd be a solid foe.
It depends on what weapons I have at the house, really.
Yeah.
So we're not just hand fighting. It's got to be.
I don't fight fair. I'm a youth minister.
So this next one, to kind of wrap up on, and you may have an answer to this, but this is kind of to you, maybe rhetorically, something to think about to our audience. If you're putting together, and we're talking Church of Christ preachers here, if you're putting together like the perfect preacher, sometimes you see this with like quarterbacks. Let's put together the best quarterback. You got the arm, you got the deciphering a defense, you got the forehead with Peyton Manning. If you're just creating that, or the worst, right? My favorite are when you put together the worst. What characteristics from your favorite preachers, or some preachers, they don't have to be your favorite, are you going to put together?
Okay. I've got you on this.
And you worked with like an all-star group, present company excluded, of course.
Yeah, I've worked with some good ones for sure. I'm taking Winkler's Bible class teaching.
Gotcha.
Like, to me, when I worked with Dan for 5 years. And the regret that I have is that I had to teach class the same time Dan did, because I think Dan is the greatest Bible class teacher in the brotherhood. Now, I don't know whoever your Bible class teacher is, that's listening to this, but Dan's got to be up there 100%. I'm going to take Jeff Jenkins. I worked with Jeff for a little bit. I'm going to take Jeff's gentleness. The way that Jeff can step on your feet in such a gentle and loving way is incredible. And I've never met somebody that didn't think they were good friends with Jeff.
Yeah.
And of course that was in our time in Texas, a lot out there, but Jeff is also sneaky athletic, unbelievable. Played quarterback.
That does sneak up on you.
Yeah. Like he's, Dale, they're probably not ever going to listen to this. Dale's the loud one. Jeff's kind of the quiet one. But Jeff is so funny, but his gentle, caring nature, second to none. I mean, he's wonderful in that. I'm not going to try and make his head that big. The way Ben applies scripture.
Undersell. Let's go.
The way Ben, the thing that I love most about him, the way that he applies scripture and the way that he breaks down a text. When you're at Highland Park, when you come there and you listen to Ben speak, wherever it may be, he will sit in a text. And I love that. I'm not a huge guy of like, let's flip to 75 passages to explain one. And so the way Ben just sits in it, applies it, I think is unreal. And so I love that. And then, man, if I could think of his name right now, he's spoken at Freed. He's a younger guy. He's best friends with Ty. Is it Kemp? Not Kemp.
Hiram
Kemp.
Yeah.
Man, that dude's energy towards the gospel. And I haven't got to hear Hiram a whole lot.
Yeah.
I probably heard him a handful of times, but you can just tell that he believes in what he says.
Yeah.
And I love Reed's another one that's just, there's excitement there. And when you're sitting in an audience and someone is excited about what they're saying, then I get excited, with it too. And so, several of those guys I could list.
Yeah, Hiram, if you're listening and you need an intern, I'm available. Kidding.
That's
Just kidding, Westgate. Just kidding. But if you want to give me some tidbits on how to do this.
Well, we work with a guy. He's not well known. I don't think in a lot of big preaching circles, Mike Brooks. But Mike the other day, the wisdom that he has is just, and it's about everything.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the Jeopardy guy. He could just answer anything, but he can especially do that. The reason I say Mike's wisdom is he has written a class on how we got the Bible. And he and I presented that class to the teenagers. And at that time, Mike was probably 76, 77 when he did that. And I still have teenagers going, that's one of the best classes we ever
That's
had.
awesome.
And for teenagers to go, a guy in his late 70s taught us, and it was good. I mean, his wisdom and just ability, he's an Auburn fan. That's the only negative.
We all got problems.
But I asked him one time, I said, Mike, how did you get so much wisdom? And he said, well, I've been daily reading the Bible for 47 years. And I thought, that's probably something every one of us can do.
That'll do it.
Yeah. So that's just a few of the guys' characteristics that I would say, from guys I've had the opportunity.
I've not been around Jeff very much, but definitely that was the one that kind of stood out to me that, man, the little bit of time I've been around him, like that is certainly something that I would also like to be a little bit better at.
I wish that I had the storytelling ability of Lonnie.
Oh yeah.
Or
the memory of Lonnie. Lonnie does not forget anything. And it's like we have trouble remembering the skit we did 2 days ago, and he can remember like every skit for the last 30 years.
Here's the cinching line from a skit we did 20 years ago. And I'm like, Lonnie, I wasn't a part of the group at that time. So
I think Lonnie's storytelling comes from just the crazy experiences that Lonnie's had, and that's what makes it so cool is he's not telling other people's stories. It's all
he packs like 20 years worth of experiences into like 2 weeks. Like
that's true.
And it's always something he can do with it biblically.
Yeah. If that is a strength of mine to break down a passage, a lot of that I got from being around Lonnie and spending time with him, because he can break down a story and give it application, which is what his podcast is really about. And then, but he can take a scripture and do the same thing. And I've tried to, in some ways, pattern after that, because I love it too. I love for somebody to be able to just, let's sit in this one thing. So,
well, Will, I appreciate it, man. And thank you for hanging out with us. Thanks for getting my cousin out there to California and back. And but man, what an experience that was.
Just to make you feel old, I turned 36 a couple weeks ago.
Nice. 36. Keep on trucking, man.
Which means you're considerably older than that.
Yeah. Oh, considerably.
Just a little boy.
Considerably older than that. Because we won't get into too many camp stories. Because
there
aren't any, because you slept all the way through camp. There's no stories to be shared. But appreciate you guys. Hope you had a good birthday, Will. I know part of it was with us in California. And shout out to Lindsay for allowing that to happen. And honestly, Kenya and Whitney as well. So but you guys have a good one, and we'll talk to you after we get back from Dallas.
Let's go. We're going through the big D and don't be that.